Top 1000 Radio. Song Battle.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Top 1000 Radio. I'm your host, Chris Nairn. This is episode 24, Song Battle number 23. And we're going to start, let's start with a shout out to Italy, or should I say Arrivederci. They just added listeners from Italy, and we're glad to have everybody. And so we're going to start off with our song notes. All right, let's get cracking with When Doves Cry by Prince. When Doves Cry is the lead single from Prince's sixth studio album, Purple Rain. Prince's first number one hit on the Billboard Hot 100. Prince played all the instruments on the album, or on the track, except there is no bass line on When Doves Cry. Next up, we have Starman by David Bowie. Starman is the lead single on Bowie's fifth studio album, The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars, 1972. It replaced a cover of Chuck Berry's Round and Round on the album. From Infogalactic, the lyrics describe Ziggy Stardust bringing the message of hope to Earth's youth through the radio, salvation by an alien starman. The chorus is inspired by Over the Rainbow, sung by Judy Garland, while other influences include T-Rex and the Supremes. It reached number 10 on the UK singles chart. One Tree Hill is the fourth single from 1987's The Joshua Tree by U2. Made it all the way to number one, but only in Australia. From Rocking in the Northlands. The track was written in memory of Greg Carroll, a Maori who worked for the band, who was killed in Dublin in 1986 while returning Bono's motorcycle. Pink Houses from 1983's Uh-Huh by John Cougar Mellencamp. It reached number 8 on the charts. Inspired by seeing a black man sitting in front of a pink shotgun house holding a cat, Mellencamp wishes he had written a better final verse.
Hey darling, I can remember when you could stop a cloud. Oh, but ain't that America? You and me. houses for you and me. Oh, yeah, for you and me.
All right, that's our song notes. Now let's look at, we're going to do a little bit different of a feature here. I am going to read to you Attilo's reviews. Attillo and Emo Sean are doing some pretty hard work on these reviews, and I want to share them with you guys. I'll actually play Emo Sean in his actual real voice here in a minute doing his reviews, but let me read Attilo's. Attillo starts with When Doves Cry. Attillo gives When Doves Cry 4 points. Enough said, but also Summer. But I gotta say, I also love the choir boy version in the lame teeny bopper movie production of Romeo and Juliet. Don't at me. It's a great, admittedly strange effect. Worth a listen for the adventurous. Starman gets one vote vote from Attillo. Always like that spot that's punctuated with the syncopated rhythm, like a Morse code transmission or something. But hey, I don't like listening to the song. Witchy Woman gets a 5 from Attillo. Dude, I'm about the blues, so yeah, my immediate pick. Always loved this song. Bent blue notes for days. Eagles always got killer backing vocals, up there with Fleetwood Mac. Also, that breakdown moment, one of the all-time best. Attillo gives One Tree Hill a 3. Love this, good vibe. It's got the classic U2 hope, vibrant energy, lush textures, great intro and epilogue. Pink Houses gets a 2 from Attillo. Never liked this song, still don't. Apologies. How much irony is this? Is the Americana rock sound nostalgia juxtaposed with criticism? Is this an indictment, disillusionment? Is it painting a picture of other people's disillusionment? Post-war problem discussion? Is it sarcastic? Is it a picture of the variety and the complexity of this country? Mourning economic class divides, celebration of the working man? This is too much thinking for an 8 to 12-year-old Cold War kid to enjoy, and the bad vibes have lingered. That said, I still prefer the sound of it to Starman. All right, now we're going to play Emo Sean's reviews in his actual real voice.
Hello, Top 1000 radio listeners all over the globe. This is Emo Sean. Let's do this. Number 5, When Doves Cry. Emo Sean's top pick. Reminds Emo Sean of water skiing. The Purple Rain soundtrack was a part of that trip in the summer of '84. Great song all around. Number 2, Starman. Let All the Children Boogie. Been listening to Bowie a bit this year. The chorus keeps Emo Sean listening. That's why Starman is at 2, while other songs went to higher spots. Number 1, Witchy Woman. Great song. The Eagles don't miss. The song deserves to be on a playlist. It just isn't fresh for Emo Sean. He may allow a listen in October. Number 4, One Tree Hill. U2, Joshua Tree. Overall, solid album. One Tree Hill is not Emo Sean's top song from the album, but haven't heard it in a while, so it brought Emo Sean satisfaction. Number 3, Pink Houses. When Emo Sean gave Pink Houses a listen, it gave happy vibes. Emo Sean sometimes doesn't listen to lyrics. He lets the music dictate feels. This is Emo Sean's superpower. This song sent the Starman to 2.
Okay then, Emo Sean. I think Emo Sean needs to invest in some looser pants. But let's do the polls here, all right? Let's go with the Sensatorial Laymen and Women. All right, that's the lower house of the Coleslaw Congress. They were big for, it's kind of balanced out there because they gave When Doves Cry a 2, they gave Witchy Woman a 2, give Starman a 3, and One Tree Hill a 3. So, a little more U2, David Bowie than Eagles and Prince. So, Pink Houses is going to get the default 5 because I left that off the list. The reason why I leave one off the list for the Sensatorial Laymen and Women poll is because Instagram only gives me 4 spots, so I can't do a 5th spot. So that's why, if you were wondering why. The Council of Learned Elders came in big for Pink Houses. And then just a close second was U2. And then you had Witchy Woman, When Doves Cry, and then Starman. All right. So how do I come down on it? All right. Well, I'm going to give my second place to One Tree Hill by U2. Joshua Tree is, like Emo Sean said, it's a great album. Solid all the way through. One Tree Hill, I wouldn't say it's my favorite on the album, but that's not really an indictment of the song. There, every song, there's only like one song on there I kind of don't like, and I think it's the Mothers of the Disappeared. I believe that one of the really slow kind of songs, but it suffers from pretty much what the whole album suffers from, and that is. The volume on it is too low, and U2 knew that. They figured that out between making the Joshua Tree and making Octung Baby. And I think when they made Octung Baby, they said, we want this one to be able to crank it, So, I like that song. It's got a great, it's a super chill song, and the Edge is a very limited guitar player in terms of his ability, to go up and down the fretboard and all that. But, when he works with Brian Eno and I forget what that other, I think they call Daniel Lanois, I believe his name is, that old team they had back in the day, they really got everything they could out of the Edge's guitar. So that's my number 2 place with 4 points. Third place, I'm going to give When Doves Cry. That song is it didn't hit me why it was so unique until I read about how it didn't have a bass line in it, and that's kind of a trip, which it's very unique for an artist like Prince not to have bass, a bass line in a song, and but that it's one of those nostalgia type deals. Freshman in high school, that song was everywhere. And I still like it when it comes on. I still give it a good listen. Then in second, gosh, I messed this up. We're going down to our 4th place song, and I'm going to give that to Starman by David Bowie. Not my favorite Bowie song, but I like it. It's it's got a lot of, it's quirky, that's the word that sums up David Bowie. Quirky, but quality, like quality quirk. Okay. And so, I like the fact that he completely rips off, Over the Rainbow, and does it without you really, noticing. He's like a cat burglar. He comes in and he steals an entire chorus of one of the most well-known songs in the world, and you don't even realize it until somebody tells you. So that's a pretty, they say good artists create and great artists steal. I think that's what they say, and I don't even know who they are, but that's anyway. So it comes down to Witchy Woman and Pink Houses. Which one am I going to choose? I always do this. I know I say that the one I leave off the Sensatorial Laymen and Women poll doesn't give it away every time, but it seems like it kind of does. So let's talk about Witchy Woman before I get to my winner. So Witchy Woman is a song that I'm going to kick to the curb. And it's mainly because I don't really like that song because talk about stealing, the Indian, it sounds like a song that the Indians would be singing on a bad Cowboys versus Indian movie. That part never really landed with me. Some of the middle of the song, obviously it's a catchy song, but it doesn't start well enough for me for the middle of it to make it work. I mean, obviously it's a good song. It's a very popular song amongst a lot of people, but for me, it just never was, one of my favorite Eagles songs. All right, so that brings us to our winner, Pink Houses by John Cougar Mellencamp. He was still using the Cougar at the time. I'm trying to remember when he dropped the Cougar, but this was the first album where he added the Mellencamp. I told you in a previous episode. Which was kind of weird, at the time. I had been listening to Johnny Cougar in the early days, back in the 70s, and as a little kid, I was a little kid in the 70s, but Johnny Cougar, that was who he was as far as I was concerned. And I don't know why I thought when he added his real name, Mellencamp, that he was making some sort of hippie statement, like he was from a melon camp, like a camp for melons or something. I don't know why I don't know, I was in junior high when it came out, why I thought he was making some sort of weird hippie, statement. And I don't know, when you're in junior high, your brain doesn't exactly work well. But I've always loved this song. I love the guitar work on it. Kenny Aronoff's drums are always fantastic. I love that, but I love that guitar riff, whatever you call it on an acoustic guitar. I guess it's a riff, but that one really lands with me. I like the sentiment, kind of addressing what Artillo said about Americana and what it really is. I didn't really talk about it last time when Crumbling Down was on the list, and I did mention that Crumbling Down was an indictment of Reaganomics and all that stuff, and here we go with Pink Houses is kind of, Mellencamp wasn't really making the kind of same statement here. As I said in the song notes, the song was inspired by him seeing a black gentleman sitting in front of a pink shotgun house with his cat and waving at him, and the traffic going by, and the guy just seemed plenty happy. And he was just writing about that. He wasn't saying it's good, bad, or anything like that. Now Mellencamp has his political views, but one thing that I've always admired about him is his willingness to state that he doesn't know anything. He doesn't, he'll give his opinion, but he doesn't want anybody following him in any kind of political way. All right. He's going to make his statement about the farmers. He's going to make his statement about, like that whole album, The Scarecrow, was just all about that. And I always had a love-hate relationship with that because, I liked Reagan as a president when I was a kid because, growing up during the Cold War, we were scared to death. We were made to be scared to death of the Soviet Union. Constant, media propaganda making us fear nuclear weapons and that all that kind of stuff. And you could, that could make you hate Ronald Reagan. A lot of people hated him because they thought he was going to start a war with the Soviet Union. They thought he was too belligerent. And but the way I took it was, this guy actually wants to protect us. He's looking to protect us. And, he's taking it to him. We've gone for decades of the containment policy where, we're just trying to not let them take over the whole world. But whatever they do take over, we're going to let them keep it, that kind of thing. And here Reagan was talking about rollback. He was talking about sending the Soviet Union to the ash heap of history and things like that. And I took that as, this guy's willing to do what it takes to protect his country. Okay. Now, obviously you can take it a different way. That's fine. On economics, same thing. The way I took it was, he wanted to get the country back, economically, and the Crumbling Down, Mellencamp talks about it, he'd been inspired by his cousin or somebody he knows, brother-in-law, losing his job as an electrical engineer. And, my understanding of that, I do teach economics. I do, again, I'm going to make the same statement Mellencamp does. Don't follow me in any way on anything political or economic. But my understanding and the way the way the books that I've read and everything I've learned about that time period was people lose their job for all kind of different reasons. You could lose your job, your company, somebody mismanages the finances and they go out of business, but if the economy's good, you'll get picked up pretty quick, that kind of thing. But there was a really nasty recession in 81 and 82. And it was one of the worst economic times in our country's history. Okay. But there was a reason for that. All right. You can forgive a guy like John Mellencamp who probably didn't know anything about the Federal Reserve or interest rates or its effect on cyclical economics, what they call the business cycle. All they see is people they know losing their jobs and farmers losing their farms. Okay. The bottom line on that whole deal was we were experiencing runaway inflation, kind of like we are now, in the late 70s, and it was the result of decades of mismanagement. We had, the Vietnam War, we had the Great Society, and we had presidents who were kind of browbeating the Federal Reserve into keeping interest rates low. You can maybe get away with two of those things, but you can't get away with all three. Okay, you can't have massive new social spending, a massive war, and really low interest rates and expect the money supply not to inflate and prices to go up. Okay. And then throw in there the oil prices and the whole OPEC thing and all that. So it was a real mess in the 70s, and Jimmy Carter, wasn't up to the job. All right. But while Jimmy Carter was president, the Federal Reserve started raising interest rates, and then they continued to do so. When Ronald Reagan came into office, they continued to interest rates were through the roof. Okay. Double digit, in the 20%, upwards of 20%. Okay. Massive interest rate increases. Okay. And that put us into a very deep, nasty recession. Okay. But around 1983, the sun came out. Okay. And right around the time this album, was coming out, the economy started to boom, and it boomed big time. The longest peacetime boom in post-World War II history. And it doesn't mean everything went right. I mean, the thing with the farmers, that's another issue. And I growing up, in a farming community, obviously it's sympathy for the farmers. But the thing is like what you would see if you were my age was everybody wanted to get off the farm. Okay. And it was probably different in the Midwest. I was in the South, everything was cotton and soybeans and big time farming, huge cash crop kind of thing. The smaller family farm though, that was going the way of the dodo, and it didn't have to happen that way. The government, kind of pushed it into that way and that kind of thing. So I can forgive what I'm getting is I can forgive John Mellencamp and people like him for missing something that was going away. Okay, a way of life, something that was truly American was going away, and that was bad. And I don't think President Reagan understood it. And you can go all the way back to Calvin Coolidge, and I don't think he understood it. Okay, and these guys were presidents I admired, but what I think they missed, what I was just thinking about the other day, what is conservatism and what is progressivism? And I think originally the tension between the two was good for the country because conservatives were seeking to preserve the fire. Progressives were looking for better fuel for the fire. And as long as they were doing that, the tension between the two pushed the country forward, and then at the same time it maintained our character. But I think sometime after World War II at least, conservatives are merely trying to preserve ashes, okay? And progressives are trying to put out the fire, okay? They put out the fire, and then the conservatives try to preserve the ashes. And I think that's kind of the reason why a president like Ronald Reagan couldn't see what we were losing with the small-time farmers, and also with manufacturing, okay? And you can say the same thing about every president since then, okay? They've all done things to encourage manufacturing jobs to go overseas and farms to continue to consolidate into bigger operations, that kind of thing. So that's why I'm okay with Mellencamp's approach. All right, and to a lesser extent, Bruce Springsteen's approach. I think Bruce Springsteen's he's a much more cynical songwriter than Mellencamp is. But we'll talk about Springsteen when we, he'll be on the list, and I enjoy his stuff a lot, despite his politics. But that's my little political rant here. I don't want to make any of this about politics, but when it comes up in a song, it is appropriate to address it. Okay, so hopefully that made sense. All right, so let's talk about our Challenger poll from last time. I know last time I was very hurried, wanted to get out of here, wanted to go see my new granddaughter, and it was amazing. I've had an amazing couple of days. Got to go to a wedding of a young lady who I've known since she was born, and got to hang out with some great friends I haven't seen in a while, and got to hang out with my grandson all morning. Just very cool last couple of days. But I didn't get to the Challengers poll last time. The Challengers to replace Heartbreaker by Led Zeppelin were Blink-182, the Jackson 5, and I'm going to do with Jackson 5 what I do with Steve Winwood, and that is I'm going to include Michael Jackson's solo stuff with the Jackson 5, because there really isn't, the Jackson 5 really isn't much without Michael Jackson, I don't think. You may disagree with me, but I don't think it is. You may be a huge Jermaine fan, or maybe Tito's your guy. I don't know, but I'm gonna just make Michael Jackson stuff go all the way back to Jackson 5. All right, and then the Bangles made it on again, and they didn't make it this time again. So it was close. It was Blink-182 barely beating out Michael Jackson. And so what we're going to do is we're going to place Heartbreaker with All the Small Things by Blink-182. All right. And a couple of rule changes that I am toying with would be, one is giving you guys a choice of keeping the song that I put as my last place. All right. Give you a choice between three bands or keeping my last place song. Okay. So, we're not going to do that this time because I haven't had time to work out the logistics of that, but, that's coming up. And there was also, giving you guys a song from the Challengers to choose, so not just, do you want this Challenger to replace, but do you want this song by the Challenger to replace my last place song? All right. Okay, so our next Challenger poll to replace Witchy Woman is going to be Cheap Trick, Hardy. Now, if you never heard of Hardy, he is a country artist from the great state of Mississippi, and he just put out an album that's kind of, it's being hailed as groundbreaking. There's a couple of songs on there that are just absolute instant classics the moment you hear them. So give him a shot. At least, if nothing else, go and listen to the song Wait in the Truck. Okay? Go listen to the song Wait in the Truck by Hardy before you vote on the Challenger poll. Okay? And then Santana's back. All right? Santana gets another shot at it. All right, that's our Challengers poll, and then our next song battle will be The Trees by Rush. All right, this is going to be a weird song battle, by the way. Okay, so you got The Trees by Rush. You're going to have I'll Be Home for Christmas by Elvis. I warned you there's some Christmas songs on this list, and I'm going to treat them like songs. I'm not going to... This is going to really trigger Emo Sean. Emo Sean is going to go probably put on some even tighter pants, so... we'll probably have to go get him. All right. Then we have Street Fighting Man by the Rolling Stones, My Michelle by Guns N' Roses, and get ready, millennials, Good Riddance, Time of Your Life by Green Day. I'm going to have to try to find well, I'm not, I'm not going to play the intro to that because it uses a naughty word, but so so that'll be. I know how the sensatorial laymen and women are going to vote on that one. It'll be interesting to see how the Council of Learned Elders comes down on it. All right, folks, that'll do it for this song battle. We're going to play you out with another Rosetta Stone song. This is Wish. Have a good one.
Like a child you play with fire, but you won't stop till you burn your hand. Well, I was there when you vainly swore you'd never go there, but take a look at where you are. I wish for once you'd stop and look, 'cause she's taking you round again, and I'm getting sick. Please stop this spinning like a carousel with painted horses. Please stop the world, I'm getting up offended by what you've been taught. I wish for once you would stop. A plunging roller coaster ride, she takes you out right to the edge, but she wasn't there